When you get your Arduino starter kit, it will look like this. Okay, so you open it up, then you get the Arduino board and the breadboard. And for this exercise, we're going to use a resistor, and then here's a LED. Okay, so I have a MacBook. So because I have a MacBook, I have to plug into this USB-A, a USB-C, a USB-A to USB-C connector, so that I can then connect it to my Mac. Okay, so you take this and you plug it in to this end, this part of the Arduino board. Now what we're going to talk about here is how to wire this up to do our basic first program, which is going to just be to use this resistor, put it in front of this LED, and write C code to light up the LED. So what we'll do is we're going to take the power from here. Now this will say, not sure how well you can see that. This will say 13 is where you want the input. You see, you just push it in. Not very hard. Push it in. Make sure it's well seated. And then we're going to end up plugging it into here. In the video, we'll talk about exactly which of these things to plug it into. We just plug it into one of these. Just pick one at random there. Now, when you get the resistor, it will be stretched out like this. Okay, so you just stick it in one end, bend it over, stick it in another. And in the video I'll explain which ones to stick it into. And then finally, the LED has got a positive side, which is the longer end. It's the longer side over here. And the shorter side is the negative side. It's over here. So depending on what the instructions say, which we'll see in the video, that's putting the long one in that side, and that's putting the short one in the next side. So you make sure they're seated firmly. And the last thing we're going to end up doing is going using the ground wire. Here, I'm just putting this at random. Just plug it in here. Then on the Arduino cord, and then on the Arduino board, we look for where it says ground, GRD. And that's how we close our circuit. See? So there it is. Obviously you're going to plug this into your Mac, or if you're using a Windows or Ubuntu or something, probably have USB-A. Okay. Follow along in the video and we'll see how to turn on and turn off a LED light using C code and the Arduino board. Okay, first we have our Arduino board here. Now this is the breadboard. As I showed you a minute ago, you push the wires into the board, and that makes it where you don't have to solder. Solder is the way you connect two wires. For example, if you don't have a breadboard, you kind of weld them together. You melt one wire onto another. Solder is often made of silver, for example, or other metal like this. Makes a permanent connection. Okay, so the orange lines point to what are called the rails. The rails carry, there's a positive and a negative line there, and that carries electricity all the way down the board. Okay, what we need in this example is just to use what the blue arrows point to, which is just 5 holes in a row, one above the division in the middle of the board, one below. You plug one wire into one of these holes, and if you go anywhere below it in the next 4, electricity will flow along those 5 wires. It flows down, the other one's across. Okay? Now, here's another way to look at the breadboard. The breadboard has letters going across, you could say, the top, and then numbers going down the side. Here I just have the numbers 1 to 5, but the breadboard I have, I believe it goes all the way up to 30. And then also on the other side, there's A, B, C, D over here, and then F, G, H, I, J. So that's how you keep track of what hole you are plugging something into. Now, this next picture here, this is the resistor kit. See, when you buy the Arduino's board, the resistors come like this. Like this, and you just pull them off of the tape. Here at the bottom it says 220 ohms. The resistors are color coded, so you can tell from the color how many ohms it is. So the ones that we have here are 2 red bands, 2 black bands, and 1 brown band. Electricity flow. Okay, this slide shows you basically what we're gonna make here. We want to make a LED turn on and turn back off. Not very exciting, but this is our first project. So we're going to take the power, the D13 side of this Arduino card, and then we will carry that to the one side of the resistor. The resistor's got 2 little legs that we plug into the board. We will next carry it over to the LED. The LED is the light. It's light emitting diode. That's what it means. Now the longer side of the LED, the longer leg is positive. In this diagram, we're going from positive to negative. Electricity flows from positive to negative. So the LED has got 2 wires. It's got a positive wire and a negative wire. And the wire passes through the LED. And that's what makes the light come on. And then from the short side or negative side of the LED, we plug it into the ground. The ground is on the opposite side of the Arduino board. Okay, it's just a plug that grounds the wire. Now here's a picture of the Arduino board and the breadboard. The blue lines basically are just the power going in from D13, and then the power going back to the ground plug. Now it's hard to see. We'll zoom in on this in a couple of pictures so you can see exactly what plugs are plugged it into. Again, here's another view of the Arduino. Clearly on the side it says D13. On one side tells you where to plug it, and on the other side it says ground. This is the breadboard. I mean the blue and the red. The blue and the red, that top part, that's called the rail. You look at the picture on the screen, and if I were to peel off the back of this breadboard, you could see there's a copper wire running across it. So if I were to plug a wire into that, there would be electrical charge all the way down the breadboard. That's useful for certain problems. But in this case, we're going to use the center part of the board and plug the electricity into here. And in that case, the electricity just goes down from the top to the bottom, just in these 5 little holes. Now here's a view of a working circuit, the working circuit. I drew this using a tool called Fritz. There's other tools. Fritz, I paid €8 for it. There's other tools that you can use that lets you draw these diagrams. That way you can test them by drawing it before you plug the wires in, then you'll know it's working. Plus it's easy to see. You can zoom into it. You can make a schematic diagram from it. Now here's a tight closed in zoom on that part of the breadboard. Okay, I'm on the right hand side, so the A, B, C, D, the letters are way up here, so I copied the label down low so you could see. So we can see here that for example, the letters at the top would be F, G, H, I, J. Okay, now the green dots are, remember there's electricity flowing across those. That's we had it oriented like this a minute ago. Now it's like this. So you can see the green line running across row 12. That's one copper wire underneath the plastic, so electricity will get carried across there. So I start off by taking the power in, plugging it into D13. Okay, I start off by plugging that into F12. Okay, now that means anywhere along that line I can plug in another device and the electricity will carry through to it. So I plug in the resistor at H12, one end of it. Okay, now the resistor, you can bend it, but it's got a little bit of a length on it. So I took the other end of the resistor and plugged it into H16. So what have we done here now? We've taken one hot wire up at the top, the 3 green dots, brought electricity down from row 12 to row 16. See? That's how we've plugged either end of the resistor into the board to carry electricity across the board. Now, the resistor comes in front of the LED because remember the resistor reduces the charge passing through the wire. If we took the resistor out and plugged in the LED, it would burn out the LED. Don't want to do that. So next to it, on I16, we plug in the positive end of the LED, which is the longer piece of it. The LED's got 2 legs. One's longer than the other. Okay, then we plug in the negative end on the next row, which is I17. And that's the end of it. Now we've brought power in through the resistor, through the LED. So now all we got to do is go back to ground. So we go from H17 to the ground board on the Arduino card. That's the complete circuit. It will turn on when we send instructions to it through our C code. Okay, again, here's a picture of the LED. It's called the light emitting diode. The long end is positive, the short end is negative. Think again of electricity as going from positive to negative, from up to down. Here's just a picture of the Arduino card with the ground plug. It says GRD, and that stands for ground. Then finally we have what I've plugged in here, working configuration. If it didn't work, several things could have gone wrong. I could have plugged the LED in backwards. Could have put positive on the wrong side so that it'd be flowing backwards. Remember, it's direct current. It's got to go in a line. Like I say that because, Tesla, the Serbian guy Tesla, he invented the alternating current. Alternating current is what goes through your house. It surges back and forth. Direct current, the electrons flow in one direction. Okay, so anyway, or more likely is he might not have plugged the wire in deep enough. Don't push it in so that you bend it. Just push it in firmly. Make sure it's firmly seated. Okay, then I'll show you in a moment how we ran the code to get it to come on. Here's the Arduino IDE. IDE, by the way, just means Integrated Development Environment. So this is the editor for the software. Okay, here we have to pick the board. We're going to say Arduino Uno. Okay, the Arduino makes lots of different devices. Pick Arduino Uno. That's the board. Then the port is the Arduino port. Port is how we upload the software to the Arduino card. A port is back from the old days in computing, not that old actually. We use serial communications to transfer something over the wire. In our case, it's a USB wire. And then finally here's our code for turning on the LED, and it's not very complicated. It's you have setup, where we give the LED a value. We say we want to use number 13. Okay, we declare that as output. Okay, and then we just say write to it. We write to 13 high. High means on. Oddly, kind of strange, they don't say on or off. And then that's going to send 5 volts into the card, and then obviously the next thing you do to turn off is you change that, run it again, change it to low.